Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of Titan Base, watching Saturn's largest moon cast its ethereal glow across the station's quantum arrays. 20 years of preparation had led to this moment, and still she couldn't quite believe what the sensors were telling her. The stellar Concordat's fleet had finally crossed the Kuiper Belt's threshold. "General Torres requests your presence in command, Doctor," her AI assistant whispered through her neural implant. Sarah acknowledged with a thought and took one last look at the ringed giant looming above. Everything would change today. The command center hummed with controlled tension as she entered. Holographic displays showed thousands of incoming vessels, each one broadcasting signals that the Concordat thought were undetectable. General Maria Torres stood at the central platform, her weathered face illuminated by the tactical displays. "They're right on schedule," Torres said without looking up, just like the archivists predicted. Sarah moved to stand beside her, studying the complex data streams flowing across the screens. "The quantum entanglement network is ready. Every colony, every hidden base, every sleeper cell we've planted in their systems over the last century. They're all waiting for the signal." The stellar Concordat had ruled the galaxy for 15,000 years through a simple strategy: identify emerging civilizations, assess their potential threat level, and either subjugate or destroy them before they could challenge the established order. They thought they'd detected humanity's first fumbling steps into space with the launch of Sputnik. In reality, they'd discovered exactly what humanity wanted them to find. Platform 7 reports the final calibrations are complete, a young lieutenant announced. "The gravity lens is ready for deployment." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The gravity lens was her life's work, a device that could bend not just light, but the fabric of space-time itself. The Concordat sensors would see exactly what humanity had spent generations carefully crafting: the image of a primitive species just beginning to reach for the stars. "They're broadcasting," Torres announced as red warning lights pulsed through the command center. "All channels, all frequencies. Time to play our part." The message that boomed through the station's speakers was exactly what they'd expected: a demand for humanity's immediate surrender and submission to Concordat authority. Any resistance would be met with immediate and overwhelming force. They had one standard solar day to comply. "Send the response we prepared," Torres ordered. "Make it look appropriately frightened and confused. And get me a secure channel to Artemis Base on Luna." Sarah watched as humanity played its part perfectly. Panicked transmissions filled the void between worlds. Civilian ships made clumsy attempts to flee the system. Military vessels made a show of mounting a disorganized defense, all carefully choreographed, all part of a plan centuries in the making. The archivists were right about everything. Sarah mused, remembering the day she'd first learned the truth. How humanity had discovered the ruins of an ancient civilization in the Valles Marineris on Mars. Not aliens, but humans. Their own descendants from a future that had seen the Concordat's true nature and sent warning back through time itself. "Hard to believe we kept this secret for so long," Torres replied. "Every government, every major corporation, every space program, all working together, all maintaining the illusion. Makes you proud to be human, doesn't it?" Sarah nodded. Since finding those ruins and the quantum database they contained, humanity had walked a delicate path. They'd developed their technology in secret while maintaining a convincing facade of normal development. They'd planted false evidence of their capabilities while building their true strength in hidden bases throughout the solar system. They'd even seeded their own ancient sites for the Concordat to discover, each one carefully crafted to reinforce the image of a young, primitive species. "Signal from Artemis Base," the communications officer announced. "Project Phoenix is green across all parameters. They're ready to receive the package." The package, a quantum virus that would spread through the Concordat's supposedly unhackable network, disrupting their communications and control systems at the precise moment humanity revealed its true capabilities. Just one of countless weapons and countermeasures developed over generations of preparation. "Tell them to hold position," Torres ordered. We wait for them to make the first move. Let them think they're following their usual playbook. She turned to Sarah. How long do you think it will take them to realize their mistake? Sarah watched as another wave of Concordat ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, their weapons charging as they prepared to make an example of yet another primitive species that had dared to reach for the stars. I think, she said slowly, they're about to learn why humans tell stories about wolves in sheep's clothing. The next 12 hours would change the galaxy forever. Humanity had spent centuries preparing for this moment, building alliances with other oppressed species, developing technologies the Concordat couldn't imagine, and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The Concordat thought they were springing a trap on humanity. They didn't realize they were walking into one that had been laid before their great-grandparents were born. As if reading her thoughts, Torres spoke softly. Send word to all commands. Operation Revealed Truth begins at dawn, Earth Standard Time. Let's show the galaxy what humanity can really do. Sarah felt a shiver run down her spine as she watched the enemy fleet move into position. Tomorrow, the Concordat would learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their hidden technology or secret preparations. It was their ability to work together, to plan across generations, and to sacrifice immediate gratification for long-term victory. They were about to learn why humans had never been afraid of the dark. Dawn broke over Earth's horizon, painting the sky in shades of crimson and gold. From his position aboard the Artemis Command Station, Admiral David Patel watched the sunrise with a mix of reverence and determination. Below, the lunar surface bristled with carefully concealed weapon systems, technology that would have made the Concordat's military leaders lose sleep if they'd known it existed. Final status report, he commanded, turning to face the command center's crew. The holographic displays surrounding them showed real-time data from every hidden installation in the solar system. Mars Defense Grid is online and cloaked, Lieutenant Commander John reported. The quantum shields are operating at full capacity, and the Phobos array is ready for activation. Europa Station confirms all systems green. Another officer added, the submersible fleet is in position beneath the ice. Ganymede Base reports similar status. Patel nodded, his dark eyes reflecting the soft blue glow of the tactical displays. The Concordat's fleet had spent the night positioning itself for what they thought would be a simple subjugation operation. Their ships formed a standard containment pattern around Earth, a strategy they'd used countless times to isolate and dominate primitive civilizations. Message from Dr. Chen on Titan, his AI assistant announced. Project Looking Glass is fully operational. They're ready to begin the deception protocols. The Admiral allowed himself a small smile. Looking Glass was humanity's masterpiece of misdirection, a network of quantum-scale devices that could create perfect holographic duplicates of entire fleets. When activated, it would show the Concordat exactly what they expected to see, a handful of crude human warships making a desperate, doomed attempt at resistance. Signal from General Torres, Zhang announced. The Concordat's ambassador is demanding our surrender. They're broadcasting their terms. Put it through, Patel ordered. Let's hear what they think they're offering us. The voice that filled the command center was smooth, artificial, the product of advanced translation software. People of Earth, it began, your continued defiance serves no purpose. The stellar Concordat has maintained peace and order in this galaxy for 15,000 years. Your primitive weapons cannot harm our ships. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Submit now, and we will be merciful. Resist, and we will reduce your civilization to pre-industrial levels. Patel exchanged glances with his senior staff. The Concordat's arrogance had always been their weakness. They were so convinced of their superiority that they never questioned why humanity's development had followed such a predictable pattern. Why their sensors always showed exactly what they expected to find. Why no human had ever seemed truly afraid of their threats. Signal from Titan, Zhang reported. Dr. Chen reports the quantum virus is primed and ready for deployment. They're just waiting for our go-ahead. Tell them to hold position, Patel ordered. We wait for the Concordat to make their move. Let them think they're following their usual playbook. The minutes ticked by as the Concordat's deadline approached. On Earth, billions of humans went about their daily lives, many unaware that today would change everything. Only a select few knew the truth, that humanity had been preparing for this moment since before the first lunar landing. "Admiral," John called out, "we're detecting energy spikes across the Concordat fleet. They're charging weapons." "Right on schedule," Patel murmured. He straightened his uniform and addressed the command center. "Send the signal to all commands. Operation Revealed Truth is now active. Execute Phase 1. Across the solar system, humanity's hidden strength stirred to life. Beneath the ice of Europa, massive submarines powered up their engines. In the caves of Mars, stealth fighters prepared for launch. Within the rings of Saturn, quantum computers began their intricate dance of deception and disruption. "Concordat ships are moving into attack formation," John reported. "Their weapons are hot. They're targeting our orbital defense platforms." "Let them," Patel said calmly. "Execute looking glass protocols. Show them what they expect to see." The holographic network activated, creating perfect images of primitive human defense satellites and outdated warships. The Concordat sensors would see exactly what humanity wanted them to see, right up until the moment everything changed. "Sir," a young officer called out, "we're detecting transmissions from within the Concordat fleet. The sleeper agents are confirming their positions." Those agents, members of other species who had secretly allied with humanity against the Concordat's oppression, were another card in humanity's hidden hand. For centuries, Earth had built a network of allies among the Concordat's subject races, each one waiting for this moment. "The Concordat's flagship is launching fighters," Zhang announced. "They're beginning their attack run." Patel watched the enemy vessels approach, their weapons charged to deliver what they thought would be a crushing blow to human civilization. They had no idea they were about to strike at shadows. "Send word to Dr. Chen," he ordered. "Tell her to prepare the quantum virus for deployment. And get me a channel to General Torres. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity has been hiding all these years." As the first Concordat weapons fire lit up Earth's sky, Admiral Patel thought about all the generations that had worked in secret to prepare for this day. They were about to rewrite the rules of a game the Concordat thought they had mastered millennia ago. "Let's begin," he said softly, and gave the order that would change everything. The first shots from the Concordat fleet streaked through Earth's upper atmosphere, aimed at targets their sensors told them were humanity's primary defense platforms. The energy beams struck home with devastating force and passed straight through their targets. In her command center beneath Titan's icy surface, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the confusion ripple through the enemy fleet. "Looking Glass is performing perfectly," she reported through the quantum-encrypted channel. "Their sensors are showing them exactly what we want them to see." "Excellent," General Torres's voice crackled back. "Admiral Patel, your forces are in position. Ready and waiting." The Admiral confirmed. "All stealth systems are functioning at optimal levels. The enemy has no idea we're here." The Concordat fleet had arranged itself in a standard attack formation, spreading out to establish orbital superiority around Earth. Their tactical doctrine, unchanged for millennia, called for a swift decapitation strike, followed by systematic destruction of military infrastructure. It was a strategy that had worked countless times against other civilizations. But humanity wasn't like other civilizations. "Execute Phase 2, Torres commanded. "Dr. Chen, deploy the quantum virus." Sarah's fingers danced across her control panel, activating the program she'd spent decades perfecting. Across the solar system, microscopic quantum processors hidden in the Concordat's own communication arrays came to life. The virus spread through their network at the speed of entangled particles. Impossible to stop, impossible to trace. The effect was immediate and devastating. Concordat ships began losing contact with each other. Their supposedly unhackable quantum computers started displaying contradictory information. Weapon systems went offline. Navigation systems showed impossible readings. By all the stars, a voice cut through their command channel. One of their sleeper agents aboard a Concordat vessel. You should see their faces. They've never experienced anything like this. They don't understand how it's possible. Sarah allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The Concordat had grown complacent in their technological superiority, never imagining that a primitive species could have developed quantum computing far beyond their understanding. Admiral Patel, Torres called out, "The enemy is compromised. Begin Phase 3. Across the solar system, humanity's hidden forces revealed themselves. From beneath Europa's ice, a fleet of advanced submarines emerged, their hulls made of materials that absorbed all sensor readings. From Mars's secret bases, squadrons of fighters launched, their quantum drives allowing them to ignore the conventional laws of physics. And from the dark side of Earth's moon, humanity's true defense grid activated. Not the primitive satellites the Concordat had been targeting, but a network of gravity manipulation devices that could tear ships apart at the quantum level. Message from the Concordat flagship, a communications officer announced. They're demanding to know how this is possible. Their admiral is requesting immediate communication. Put them through, Torres ordered. It's time they learned the truth. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the Concordat's supreme admiral, a tall crystalline being whose species had led the Concordat for millennia. His translucent form pulsed with what Sarah recognized as extreme agitation. "What is the meaning of this?" the alien demanded. "Your species cannot possess this level of technology. It's impossible. Impossible." Torres stepped forward, her voice calm. "Or simply beyond your ability to imagine. For 15,000 years, your Concordat has suppressed and dominated other species, never allowing them to reach their full potential. But humanity, we saw you coming. We've known about you for centuries." The alien leader's crystalline form flickered with confusion. "How? Our monitoring systems showed you exactly what we wanted them to show," Sarah cut in. "Every primitive satellite launch, every clumsy attempt at space exploration, all carefully staged for your benefit. While you watched our apparent struggles, we built our true civilization in secret. Around them, the battle, if it could even be called that, continued to unfold. Concordat ships hung helpless in space, their systems completely under human control. The few vessels that had maintained partial function were being systematically disabled by weapons they couldn't even detect. Your reign of suppression ends today," Torres declared. "But understand this, we're not here for revenge. We're here to bring change." Through the quantum network, Sarah could sense the reactions of their alien allies aboard the Concordat ships: hope, excitement, and a burning desire for freedom long denied. Everything was proceeding according to plan, just as the archivists had predicted. "You have a choice," Torres continued, addressing not just the Supreme Admiral, but all Concordat forces. "Surrender now and help us build a new galactic society based on cooperation and mutual growth. Or resist and watch everything you've built crumble around you." The Supreme Admiral's crystalline form pulsed with rapid colors, their equivalent of rapid, agitated thought. "You would destroy 15,000 years of peace and order." "Peace through suppression isn't peace at all," Sarah responded. "It's just delayed conflict. We're offering you a chance to be part of something better." As if to emphasize her words, another wave of human ships emerged from hiding positions throughout the solar system. Each one demonstrated technology that the Concordat had thought impossible, proof that their assumption of technological superiority had been nothing but self-delusion. The Supreme Admiral's form dimmed slightly, a sign of resignation. "You planned this, all of it. For how long?" "Longer than you can imagine," Torres answered. "The question is, what happens next?" The next few hours transformed the galaxy in ways the Concordat had never imagined possible. As news of humanity's true capabilities spread through quantum channels, centuries of careful planning began to unfold across thousands of worlds. Admiral Patel watched from Artemis Command as the carefully orchestrated revolution loomed across space. Status report from the outer colonies. Resistance cells are activating on schedule. Lieutenant Zhang reported, his hands dancing across holographic controls. 70% of Concordat administrative centers are already under Allied control. Their response teams can't coordinate without their quantum network. On the main display, green indicators continued to spread across the galactic map. Each point represented a world where oppressed species had hidden in plain sight, waiting for this moment. The Concordat's perfect order was unraveling with breathtaking speed. Message from Dr. Chen. An officer called out. The quantum virus has achieved full penetration of Concordat systems. Their entire command and control infrastructure is compromised. In the center of the command deck, a hologram flickered to life. The Supreme Admiral, his crystalline form now dim with defeat. Behind him, human peacekeeping forces had already taken control of the Concordat flagship. "You understand now," Patel said quietly, "why we had to deceive you for so long. Why we couldn't reveal ourselves until everything was in place." The crystalline being pulsed with colors that the translation software interpreted as complex emotions. "Your species, you did not just plan for years or decades. This goes beyond centuries. We had help," Patel acknowledged. "The same help we're now offering you. A chance to be part of something greater than control through fear." Through quantum channels, reports continued to flood in. On thousands of worlds, beings of all species were emerging from hiding, revealing technologies and capabilities that the Concordat had never suspected. Human agents who had lived among them for generations, gathering allies and preparing for this day, now stepped forward to guide the transition. Dr. Sarah Chen's voice came through the command channel. "Admiral, you need to see this. The quantum network, it's not just carrying our virus anymore. The oppressed species, they're using it to communicate, to coordinate. They're already forming their own governing councils." Patel smiled. This too had been part of the plan. Humanity hadn't just prepared the tools for revolution. They'd prepared their allies for the responsibility of freedom. "General Torres reports from Earth," Zhang announced. "The Concordat's remaining fleet elements are standing down. Their commanders are requesting terms." On the tactical display, the last red dots representing resistant Concordat forces were turning green. Not through combat, but through choice. As the truth spread, more and more of them were choosing to join the new future humanity had planned. "Show them," Patel ordered. A new hologram appeared. Images from across the galaxy. Worlds where different species were already coming together, not as rulers and subjects, but as equals. Technology that had been hidden for centuries emerging to benefit all. The beginning of the future humanity had spent so long preparing for. The Supreme Admiral's form pulsed with what seemed like wonder. "All this time, while we thought we were watching you, you were learning from your mistakes," Patel finished. "We saw what power without wisdom had done to your civilization. We decided to take a different path." Through quantum channels, the first declarations of independence were already spreading, not just from individual worlds, but from entire sectors. The carefully maintained hierarchy of the Concordat was dissolving, replaced by something new, something that had been planned for longer than most civilizations had existed. "Signal from Titan Base," John reported. Dr. Chen reports that the quantum network reconfiguration is complete. The new galactic communication grid is online. Every world, every species, they can all talk to each other now. Share knowledge. Coordinate. This had been perhaps humanity's greatest secret, not just their advanced technology, but their plan for what would come after. They hadn't prepared only for victory. They'd prepared for peace. "Message from the Resistance Council on Proxima Centauri," an officer announced. "They're ready to begin Phase 5. The transition protocols can commence." Patel nodded. Phase 5. The careful, guided transformation of a galaxy from autocracy to cooperation. Humanity had spent generations planning not just how to defeat the Concordat, but how to help its people build something better from the ashes. "Tell them to proceed," he ordered, "and send word to Earth. Tell them." He paused, thinking of all the generations that had worked in secret for this moment. "Tell them that Operation Reveal Truth is complete. The real work begins now." The Supreme Admiral's hologram pulsed with uncertainty. "What happens to us? To those who led the Concordat?" "That depends on you," Patel replied. "We're not here for revenge. We're here to build something new. Something better. The question is, are you ready to learn what real civilization looks like?" 1 month after Operation Reveal Truth, Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the newly constructed Chamber of Cooperation on Mars, watching representatives from 1,000 worlds take their seats. The vast dome above showed the real sky. No artificial stars here, just the honest light of distant suns whose worlds were now free. "Ready for your speech?" General Torres asked, joining her at the observation platform. The older woman had traded her military uniform for diplomatic attire, though she still carried herself with a soldier's bearing. "As ready as I'll ever be," Sarah replied, watching the chamber fill. Every species in the former Concordat had sent representatives, not appointed bureaucrats this time, but chosen leaders. Among them, she could see the crystalline forms of former Concordat leadership, their once dominant position replaced by something far more valuable: equality. Admiral Patel approached, accompanied by the former Supreme Admiral, whose crystal form now pulsed with colors that the translations interpreted as thoughtful anticipation. "It's time," Patel said quietly. Sarah nodded and stepped onto the central platform. The quantum amplifiers carried her voice clearly to every corner of the chamber and, through the new network, to every world in known space. 1 month ago, she began, everything changed. The Concordat, which had ruled this galaxy for 15,000 years, discovered that their power had been built on a foundation of assumptions. They assumed that control meant civilization. They assumed that suppression meant peace. And most importantly, they assumed they could recognize advancement when they saw it. The chamber was silent, every being focused on her words. Humanity proved those assumptions wrong, not through superior firepower or advanced technology, though we had both, but through patience, planning, and a fundamental understanding of what real civilization means. She gestured to the holographic displays showing scenes from across the galaxy. Worlds where former oppressors and oppressed now worked together. Ships bearing mixed crews exploring new frontiers. Ancient technologies being merged with new innovations in ways the Concordat had never imagined. But our victory wasn't just about proving the Concordat wrong. It was about proving that there's a better way. That true strength comes not from domination, but from cooperation. Not from fear, but from trust. Not from uniformity, but from diversity. The former Supreme Admiral's crystalline form pulsed with agreement, a sight that would have been unthinkable just months ago. "The archivists showed us this path centuries ago," Sarah continued. "They showed us not just what the galaxy could become, but what it must become if we're to face the challenges ahead. Because the Concordat's rule wasn't just about control, it was about stagnation. And in a universe as vast and complex as ours, stagnation is death." She touched a control, and new holograms appeared. Images from deep space telescopes showing phenomena that even humanity's advanced science couldn't fully explain. There are mysteries out there greater than any of us, challenges that no single species, no matter how advanced, can face alone. The archivists understood this. That's why they sent their warning back through time. Not just to prevent the Concordat's oppression, but to prepare us all for what comes next. The chamber erupted in murmurs as the implications sank in. Sarah let them process for a moment before continuing. "Today, we take the first real step toward that future. Not as rulers and subjects, not as advanced and primitive, but as equals. Each of us bringing our unique perspectives, our unique abilities, our unique ways of seeing the universe." She gestured to the Earth, visible through the dome as a blue jewel in the black sky. Humanity spent centuries pretending to be less than we were, not because we feared the Concordat, but because we saw the potential in every species they suppressed. We hid our advancement not out of weakness, but because we knew that true civilization can't be imposed from above. It has to grow from within. The chamber was filled with a sense of possibility that even Sarah, who had helped plan this moment for decades, found breathtaking. "The next chapter of our story begins today," she concluded, "not as the story of humanity's victory, but as the story of all of us working together to build something that has never existed before, a civilization worthy of the stars themselves." As applause filled the chamber, expressed in 1,000 different ways by 1,000 different species, Sarah thought about all the generations of humans who had lived and died keeping this secret, who had worked in the shadows to prepare not just humanity, but all species for this moment. They had succeeded not through force or fear, but through the very things the Concordat had dismissed as weaknesses: patience, cooperation, and the ability to see potential in others. They had proven that true power lies not in the ability to control, but in the wisdom to know when to wait, when to help, and when to trust. As the new Galactic Council began its first true session, Sarah smiled. The stars above weren't just lights in the darkness anymore. They were beacons of possibility, calling them all toward a future that was finally, truly free.